Breath together. So last week we talked about the thing itself. Our January theme is getting grounded, going back to the basics, revisiting what our beliefs are, what the science of mind really is. And so today we're going to talk about the power of thought. There were some brilliant lyrics in that song. My favorite was the thought doesn't go away, it just loses its host. And in the collective unconsciousness, that's just quite true. So let's talk about thoughts a minute. Thinking about thoughts. We each have approximately 60,000 thoughts a day, right? The majority of them are literally thinking about our thoughts. So we get in this loop, and what's really, when we get right down to it, when we're talking about thought in science of mind, what are we really talking about? What we're really talking about are our beliefs. Thoughts are things. Okay? They just are. Thoughts are things, they're experiences, and what we're really talking about are those deeply held beliefs. The more deeply held the belief is, the more faith is acting, the more unquestioned the belief is. Those ones that operate without you even knowing you're thinking about them are operating the most powerfully in your life. Did you know that? That's why awareness and mindfulness is so important, so that we can become aware of what we actually are holding in thought. If you're not sure what your thoughts are, all you have to do is look at what's showing up in your life and go backwards. Because thoughts are things. Everything that's showing up in your life is coming from some thought that you're holding in that realm of consciousness. The trick is, are we going to neutralize them or energize them? If they're not, if what's showing up in your life is not what you want, then the task is to neutralize whatever belief is associated with that. And understanding neutralizing is very important, because oftentimes we wind up energizing the thought by trying to get rid of it. Okay? If I told you to not think about fill in the blank, that's all you're going to think about. Okay? The mental processes have no ability to even comprehend the word not. Just doesn't. Because our mind relates to things from the objective. And so whatever we fill in that blank with, our mind hears, think about, and it locks in on that thought. So how do we neutralize it? Well, it's actually easier than we think. Okay? We have to be for something and against nothing. Now, I have heard that concept twisted so many magnificently inappropriate ways. Because being for the annihilation of something is not what we're talking about. That in order to be for the annihilation of something, you have to be against it. So let's be really clear what we're talking about. When we say to be for something, what we're really talking about is understanding the characteristics of the infinite. Understanding the aspects of the divine and being for truth. And when we're for truth, we don't have time to be against anything, because if we really understand what we talked about last week, the thing itself, that we're all made out of it by it to be it, exactly are we against? We get stuck in people's behavior. And then we think we're against a behavior. We're not. What we are is experiencing conflict with someone else's belief. I had an awareness, yesterday or the day before, I was engaged in a conversation on the minister's listserv. And someone used the phrase about somebody else not walking their talk. And as I sat with that, what came to my awareness was that I have no way to know if you're walking your talk. Absolutely none. Because I don't know what your path is. But what I got clear about in that moment is that if I think you're not walking your talk, what I'm really saying is that you're not walking my talk in your life. Did you catch that? So when you're looking at somebody else's life and you think it's out of alignment, well, it's out of alignment with what you think it should be, but that doesn't mean it's out of alignment. It means they're not walking your talk in their life. And thank goodness, because do not, trust me, do not try to walk my talk in your life. Because if it was yours to do, it would be calling for you to do it. We're not all supposed to do the same thing. How boring would that be? We'd just be a bunch of little Stepford metaphysicians. The sentence doesn't even make sense, does it? Stepford metaphysicians. So not happening. So how do we begin to put this in practical application, folks? And we have a brilliant format in which to do it. An event happens. Okay? Something happens in our life. We see something, we hear something, we experience something, and we have an instant response or reaction to that. Yes? So, are my thoughts spiritual in nature? Is my first thought spiritual? Is my first thought one that is in alignment with truth? If it is, great. Hang out there. You don't need this next set of tools because you're already living it. If it's not, if your first thought is conditioned reaction, if the first thing that comes up for you is automatically flinging open multiple volumes of the should book on your conscious table so you can figure out which one of the shoulds they violated, then we have some work to do. The first thing that we have to do is interrupt the process. We have to interrupt the conditioned reactive thought. Now for me, just my own interruptive conditioning, ain't a word of truth in it. That's what I say to myself. Ain't a word of truth in it. Okay. Find whatever phrase works for you to interrupt you running down that road of wrongness and shouldness for whatever came up. Once the interruption happens, we've got to redirect our mind. Anybody in here ever raise a child? No. So you know, they're good at stopping, but if we don't redirect their energy, then what happens? Right back to what they were doing. Because clearly it was important to them. Okay? Are we not the same way? We interrupt our thought, and then we don't redirect our thought, and then all of a sudden there we are right back into thought. Because we thought we were done just interrupting it. These are deeply held patterns. The reason that we do so much with classes, the reason we encourage folks to hire a practitioner, because change your thinking, change your life is real. But it doesn't happen on a whim. It happens with spiritual practice. 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 And I don't think we're ever done practicing. Oftentimes, students will ask in classes if I still have stuff I'm working on, and without fail, I just crack up. Because the fact that I'm still here in form, I still got stuff. And in the classes, invariably, my stuff comes up. Because you can't teach and not learn. You can, regurgitate information, but to truly be in the trenches with the students, there's a certain vulnerability that happens. And so my stuff comes up in the classes right along with their stuff. And we learn together. Reframe, reframe, reframe. Spiritual mind treatment is such a simple thing. So if you think it's complicated, let me show you just how simple it is. Step one, we go back to the thing itself. We've interrupted it. Now we're going to retrain our thinking. So what is true? What is the infinite? Whatever word works for you, however you understand that presence, you go there and you remind yourself. Our first step is called recognition because we recognize what it is. The second step is recognizing that I'm that. That everything that thing is, everything that divine is, that wholeness, that perfection, that completion, I'm made out of it by it, so it must be in me. I'm that. Well, about that time, for most of us, an argument starts in the back of our mind with all of the ways that we haven't shown up as that, or all of the ways that this situation is not showing up as that. Because in that second step, what's true about me is true about everybody. So we know what the thing is, we know that we are that in form, so the human conversation starts. Then why isn't it showing up? And so Ernest Holmes actually taught denials. We don't teach them a lot anymore, and I think they're really significant. And so we use denials. In denial, the word no literally means denial. So we don't get into nots, we get into no, because no is actually an affirmative statement. Interestingly enough. And it is a complete sentence, by the way. If someone tells you no, that's a complete sentence. Don't make them extrapolate or justify. Simply honor their no. If you're telling yourself no, honor your no. It's a complete sentence. And so we go into that argument place, and there is no lack in creation. There is no disorder in creation. There is no place where the infinite doesn't exist. There is no sadness in source. Whatever thing that you're battling with, you simply declare what's true about that. And then when you've exhausted all of those places of no, and it's quiet, then we move to affirmation. What is? So we know that these things are absent. Right? And so then we go to what is true about the infinite is that it is absolute abundance. It is pure intelligence that knows exactly what to do and when to do it. It is kindness. It is joy. It is peace. It is whatever you are searching for. It is that thing that sustains its creation without requirement. It never requires us to do a thing to love us. It just loves us. And you stay in those affirmations because what you're actually affirming is that everything the infinite is, you are, and it is now alive in your experience. and every experience. Because when we treat, this is how treatment works. Because it's not just for one person. When we treat, we're treating for the whole because there's only one thing. There's no way to pull somebody out of oneness, treat for them, and put them back in. It just doesn't work that way. Okay? We're treating for the one. And I guarantee you, you stay in that place of affirmation, you will automatically be moved to gratitude. Automatically. You won't have to wonder, is it time to speak gratitude? It will just happen. Because you will be so filled with gratitude, you can't not express the gratitude. And so you express all of the gratitude that comes alive in you until you're complete. And then you do the only thing that involves activity in a spiritual mind treatment. You let go. You release. Notice, those first steps, you're not doing anything. You're knowing something. But you're not doing anything. We don't do a thing until we get to the end. And then we release. Now, it's really important that you actually release. That you not release, got it. Release, got it. Just release. Release is the act of faith. Releasing it says, I know without a shadow of a doubt that it's covered, that it's done. And so we can step into that and believe that and live there. That is the activity of faith. It doesn't require one shred of faith for me to say that the affirmation today is on a yellow card. Because I can see it, I can touch it. There's no faith there. The faith comes in knowing that it's going to be in the bulletin. That's faith. Because I've surrendered that to someone else to do. And I trust it. And I don't go back and, is it done yet? Is it done yet? No. You just let it go. Now here's the piece where we can get lost. Is that we have this idea in earth terms of how things are supposed to then show up. We're not in control of that. Somebody shared with me this morning, and I know for a fact that this individual has been on this journey of manifestation for well over a year. Challenged periodically with where they're going to lay their head at night. And they kept reaching out for prayer. They kept reaching out for clarity. And they just bought a home. Unexpected. Help came. Okay. That's how it works. But if we get locked in the form of how we think it'll show up, we're going to miss all the clues that take us there. Sometimes the door that we need to go through is at the end of a very long, dark hallway. It's not always bright lights and disco balls over here, come here. That's not how it always works. Oftentimes, way at the end of that hallway where you can't even see that there's a door, is the door that will take you to where you're really going. Are you willing to go down the hallway? Are you willing to trust that the infinite in you knows exactly how to manifest your heart's desire? Our job is to know our heart's desire. Our job is to be clear in our thinking. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about hold it and concentrate on it, because that doesn't change a thing. What changes it is your clarity. We don't need to concentrate on it. That's the beauty of it. Once it is impressed into law, the activity of creation, that's why we take our hands off. The activity of creation knows how to manifest it. Then we just go about our business paying attention to the clues that take us there. It's not about concentration. It's not about focus. It's about clarity and it's about faith. So next week, we're actually going to talk about the principles of successful living, to begin to put this together, what it is, the power of our thoughts. And I will end with this. No matter what your thoughts are, they are, without fail, with laser accuracy, creating all the time. There is no off switch. So if some part of you is thinking, I will just stop thinking and that will stop creating things in my life, no. All that will do is make you very painfully unaware of what's coming. Because there is no off switch in creation. There just isn't one. So let's take this into prayer. Breathing, I recognize it is the breath of the infinite breathing me. Closer than my breath is the divine. It literally thinks my thoughts, dreams my dreams. It literally acts out my life as me, living its heart's desire. This one whole, perfect, and complete source. It is out of that I am created by it to be it. And what is true of me is true of all. And so knowing this truth, I speak my word, claiming and affirming that we each lean into with complete abandon a revelation of who we are into our awareness. That we invite, allow, and celebrate the divine's highest idea of us to be known to us, that we can surrender into that. And as we do, feel the gratitude of that. Oh my. That holy wow that comes with that place of knowing it is done completely. That my life is a manifestation of Creator itself. And knowing that to be true and feeling the joy of that, it is with ease and grace and wonder that I release into the law, into that activity that knows exactly how to put all the parts together in exactly the perfect timing. So I surrender to that. I celebrate that. I release, I let go, and simply move on in this thing called life, looking for the cues and saying yes to the infinite as it shows up. I invite you to join me in making this prayer your own as we anchor it, as I say. And so it is.